so much at all, went to the dark web, and now she's sort of having an emotional response, right? She's kind of in this weird mystery. She's interested in an artist who's been vanquished off Earth. She's heard one of his songs, doesn't really care, and yet sort of feels compelled to do something about it. Lets June know, not knowing who she's replying to in space, lets June know that people do care about Shiny. But where she's sort of surprised is she has an emotional reaction to the idea that now she's become important in this story. The story kind of hinges upon whether or not Osira does anything about it. And she finds maybe for the first time in her life that she has a value outside of herself. Like many young people, she defines her life based on her friends and social standing. And yet something bigger than her own life has come onto her, I guess, computer. And she has to make a decision. And suddenly it engenders this response in her where she feels like a little bit of a criminal, or in this case, a hooligan. She's outside of her comfort zone, but she sort of likes it. It brings out the rebel in her. In writing a song like Hooligan, I went back into that sort of my own spirit when I was young about feeling I was doing something dangerous, but I didn't quite know what it was that I was doing that was dangerous, and having a lot of people around me tell me that I was sort of overinflating my place in the story. So maybe for the first time in Osira's life, she's faced with the problem where she has to make a set of choices about whether she's going to get more emotionally involved in something that is way bigger than her, is pulling at her heart a little bit, but on intellectual level, she's not really caring about Shiny the artist, so why should she care? That's a moral judgment that many of us face. We get the letter in the mail, hey, save the puppies or something, right? And you got to go through that little moment and you're like, do I care? Much of modern life is, no, you shouldn't care unless it involves you directly. There's something about the rebelliousness of the moment, the fact that it's landed on Osira's desk, that she's gone outside herself and gotten involved in something, and now the decisions that she make might affect the life of somebody who's floating off towards the sun. There's something exciting about pushing back against authority. That's a classic theme of youth, hope I die before I get old, all that stuff, right? On top of that, Osira lives in the hacker community. Osira is fully aware that in going to the dark web with information that's been censored publicly by the governmental authorities, on some level, she is running afoul of the law. In her world, it's not a big transgression. People do it all the time. And certainly, sharing the song of some forgotten artist that she doesn't even care for is not a big deal. It's not like sharing something which is truly illegal and which would land you in jail. What Osira doesn't realize is that she's actually triggered into something far, far bigger than herself and far more ominous than she realizes. But again, the kick in the story is she's attracted to the idea that there's something sort of subversive about what has happened, and it's not just a cause. It involves something sort of that's tugging at her. She's identifying with the idea of rebellion. So Shiny, even in his absence, engenders a form of rebellion which is very specific to an artist like Shiny. It's a particular form of rebellion. It's the idea that one person can push over a domino and change the world. Most people will tell you it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what you think, you're not capable of that kind of power, don't even bother. And yet here, Osira has just brushed up against it just enough to engage her curiosity, which, as we all know, is probably the most important faculty in the world to move along a storyline. A person has to actually care about what happens next. Osira is a good-hearted person. So as cool as she thinks she is, as cool as her group Hopus Dei is, as sort of subversive as they are sort of living in the hacker community, probably breaking into like third-tier governmental websites to get information on things they don't even care about, but just so they could say that they did it. Her decision-making can actually affect one person's life. And why she cares is probably surprising to her. And so the song Hooligan is she's identifying as the hooligan. Now she's the subversive target in the thing, and she actually kind of likes it.